Deputy Connolly.
Thank you, and Fáilte Roibh Golair. And I don't think it's our role here to be emotional, and I don't think it's our role to call for heads on a plate. Let me just state that. I think it's our role to look at how this happened in terms of our role, bringing accountability, public money being used, and so on. So, just Mr. O'Brien, I've looked at the Building a Better Health Society, 2016, page 16, engaged. The patient, the person should be engaged, enabled and empowered to be at the centre of service delivery. Care, compassion, trust and learning. And so I have little time. Within that, can you explain to me how this was not brought to your attention? And if I'm incorrect that it wasn't brought to your attention, please clarify how this issue was brought to your attention.
I became aware of the case of Vicky Phelan and the settlement of that at the High Court once it had occurred, and by way of the RTE News app.
So you were, let me just look at me, you were unaware completely of any issue in relation to Vicky Phelan prior to hearing it on RTE?
That's correct.
Okay. Were you aware of any issues in relation to the screening programme, issues arising from routine audits? Was that brought to your attention? Yes or no?
Well, I'll give you a yes. I was aware from a briefing note that I saw in 2016 that audits had been completed, and I was advised of a full process by which the results were to be communicated.
What was brought to your attention in 16 and when?
When it was, I'd have to come back to you. I think it was in March or April of 2016.
Okay, so in March,
but
in
can
March,
I answer the question?
No, I will. Just.
You asked me what I was told, as well as when I was told.
Okay.
So I was provided with a briefing note that advised me that a communications process was about to ensue, by which the results of this audit would be communicated to patients.
And you were told that sometime in 16?
Yes.
And is there a copy of that briefing note available?
I haven't got it with me, but it can be made available, certainly.
Okay. So who gave you that?
That was provided to me by the person who at the time was the National Director with responsibility for health and well-being.
So the National Director for Health and Wellbeing sent you a memo outlining issues that had arisen in relation to these?
No, she told me that the process of communication was about to commence, that there was a documented process. I asked, could I see that process?
Can I try and put some plain English language on this, please?
Certainly.
Okay. What issues were brought to your attention in relation to the communication process? What was being said to you as Director of the Health Service?
I was provided with a document that set out a very clear communications plan. I was never...
What was the issue? What were they communicating? What was the issue?
The issue was to communicate the outcome of an audit process.
So you were aware, you were aware then that something was wrong at that point?
No. I wasn't aware there was anything wrong. I was aware that an audit had been carried out, which would be good practice.
Yes.
I was aware of a detailed plan to communicate the results of that audit. I was never subsequently advised that anything had gone wrong in that communications plan.
No, don't mind the communications. What was the issue that was being communicated, please?
As I've just said, the issue that was being communicated was that the programme had completed an audit.
Yes, and what had they found out?
They told me that they would be communicating to...
What had the audit found out that was brought to your attention?
The fact that they would be communicating to patients...
What would they be communicating to patients?
Well, if you would let me get beyond the word communicate, I might tell you what they're going to communicate.
Just for the record, I will, but please, what was being communicated?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Every time I get to the point of telling me, you repeat the question, so if you just pause for a second, I'll get through it quickly. What was being communicated, or was to be communicated, were the individual results of audits against notified cancers in persons who had previously availed of the screening programme.
Okay, so it was brought to your attention that the audit highlighted the fact that cancer was now detected when they re-looked at the test, and women were now going to be told.
Yes, and
were you aware how many women needed to be told?
No, I wasn't given the numbers, I don't think. And in any event, excuse me.
Did you ask any questions at that point? Did you sit down and ask any questions at that point? What's the extent of this problem?
I was advised that the audit had not thrown up significant issues of concern about the quality assurance of the programme, but that there was now to be a carefully planned process of communication. I was happy to hear that there was a carefully planned process of communication.
I'm not interested in a carefully planned spin programme or a carefully planned communication. Just let me finish.
Chair, can I just come in here?
Of course.
It's unfortunate that when I give an answer, which is a factual answer, you then tell me you're not interested in the answer.
Mr. O'Brien, I'm interested
The answer is conditioned by the question.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, I'm interested in everything you have to say, and I wish I had a few hours. But for the few minutes I have, I'm trying to put it in plain English so that I can understand it and go back to people who are asking me questions. What were you made aware of in relation to the number of people affected? Please, did you ask questions to elicit more? Did you sit down or escalate the process?
I was advised that the audit had not thrown up any issues of concern. I was advised that the audit would be communicated to the individuals who were the subject of that audit. I was provided with quite some detail as to how it would be done. I was never subsequently told that any issues had arisen or anything had happened to disrupt that plan.
Okay.
Who sent you that letter as a matter of interest?
By the National Director of Health and Wellbeing at the time. I'll provide the committee with a copy of it.
Yeah, perfect. And who was that person at the time?
At the time, it was Stephanie O'Keefe.
Okay.
In relation to the memo that the Department of Health got, it says there the national screening has assured the Department that I'll come back to the Department in relation to that. Under current contractual arrangements with Cervical Check, MedLab carry out their work through a laboratory in Ireland. Are all the tests now being done in Ireland by the American company in Ireland, or are tests still going out of the country?
There are currently 3 laboratories.
No, I understand that. Listen to my question. Are any tests going out of the country, please?
Yeah, I was in the process of answering your question. We have a pattern here where on the point of answering,
Chair,
you then change.
Chair,
Don't let me see.
specific question.
There are 3 laboratories.
Yes.
2 in Ireland.
Yes.
1 is in the United States.
Yes. Did you hear my question?
Yes.
Are tests going out to the laboratory in America?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So MedLab carry out their work through a laboratory in Ireland. Would you clarify that for me?
That statement is correct.
So is there another company in America separate from MedLab that we're using?
Yes.
What's the name of that company?
It's Quest Diagnostics.
Sorry. And the last question on that, how many... when we encourage women to come forward and go forward again and have a smear test, are the tests going to the laboratory, that this MedLab in Dublin, and to Quest in America?
Each laboratory...
Are they going?
Can I answer the question in a reasonable way?
Yeah.
Each laboratory has a particular catchment or service area. So all the smears taken by particular smear takers go to just one laboratory.
Okay.
Which laboratory?
It depends on your area.
One that relates to the area.
Okay, so when you're encouraging women to go forward, some of those tests will go to the laboratories that there are serious questions about.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, I think you're reaching a conclusion that may not be substantiated.
Deputy O'Brien.
Yeah, thank you.